All right, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? How's it going? It is Else here, bringing you the 4.2.0 patch notes for Murkmire. It just came out today. It's Monday. I always try to do these. I mostly cover the PvP stuff as it relates to PvP. That's what I like to do. If there's anything else big that kind of catches my attention, I'll talk about that as well. But you know, the initial ones for these are always pretty long, so I try to shorten it up. So with that being said, let's dive into it. Welcome to Elder Scrolls Online 4.2.0 and the Murkmire DLC Game Pack. In addition to a new zone and quest to enjoy, you'll also come across 2 new world bosses and 2 delves, plus a new 4-player leaderboard arena, Black Rose Prison. Pretty cool. We've also added 12 new item sets attainable for Murkmire content, new motifs, 75 new furnishings, 50 new achievements, and many fun collectibles. Excellent. Base game update brings changes to Cyrodiil with destructible bridges and mile gates. Awesome change, in addition to a refresh of rewards for the worthy item set and an exclusive new PvP collectible item. We've also introduced some improvements to the housing editor with undo redo options and furniture grouping. We know everyone's excited to see you can now reorder your characters on the character select menu. Alright. Table of contents, yada yada yada. We're going to go through Black Rose Prison as well because, you know, we got to cover that because there's gear in there. Black Rose Prison. When Imperial Potentate, that guy, wanted a distant dungeon to house the most feared criminal and political prisoners of the Second Empire, he ordered a penal institution built on the coast of the Black Marsh. It was named Black Rose Prison after ancient city, a day's march to the north. Okay, now you can enter the dreaded Black Rose Prison and face waves of brutal enemies in an ever-escalating battle for treasure and glory. Black Rose Prison is a 4-player arena located in Murkmire. The arena includes a normal and challenging veteran version. There are all new skill-augmenting Black Rose weapons in the same fashion as Master, Maelstrom, and Asylum weapons. The full list can be found below. Unique achievements are available for completing this arena, including a unique player skin, several titles, unique housing items. Cool. The veteran version of Black Rose Prison will qualify players completing it for leaderboards. New item sets. There are 12 new item sets available from a variety of sources from Murkmire. This includes 3 item sets available as drops throughout Murkmire, 3 item sets available at crafting stations in Murkmire, and 6 item sets available from Black Rose Prison. Alright, let's dive into it. So the Murkmire drop sets that you can get in the Overland area. Bright Throat's Boast. Alright. 2-piece Max Magicka, 3-piece Max Magicka, 4-piece Magicka Recovery. Okay. Those are good. While you have a drink buff active, your magic is increased by 2,000 and magic recovery 150. Okay, so they just basically made a Bone Pirates for Magicka classes. All right, well, give us our Lich for stamina classes then. This is exactly what Bone Pirates is. So, good set. This set's going to be useful on just about everybody. Witch Mother's. Witch Mother is a drink, isn't it? Or do they classify it as a food? Yeah, why can't I remember right now? I'm pretty sure Witch Mother is a drink. But Dubious is a drink. Those two flip-flop. I can't remember. Anyway, if that doesn't count as a drink, the one that I use, the Max Magicka Magic Recovery, I'm almost certain is a drink. So regardless, this is a very good set. This is going to be used a lot. This will be one of the most popular sets in the game for PvP. Deadwater's Guile, weapon damage, max health, max stamina. Okay. When an enemy dies within 2 seconds of being damaged, you gain 5 ultimate. Weapon damage, max health, max stamina. When an enemy dies within 2 seconds. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So, I see this becoming a very effective set for, like, you know, ball groups, stamina wardens, stam DKs, basically any stamina class. Pairing this with a set like Balorg, you know, you can run 3 jewelry, whatever it is on your front bar. You have this, and you basically do spin to win. And so your group goes in, you smack your Dawnbreakers. You all gain ultimate off of everybody killed. You know, like if the Dawnbreaker doesn't do it, then you're spinning, like everybody's taking damage. AoE builds will utilize this very well. And then you can get your ultimate back a little bit quicker. You know, Wardens need more ulti-gen. That's what I always have to say. You know, like, obviously this works for every class, but like this specific set with a Warden is just really, really powerful. So, yeah, Balorg with this is going to be pretty nasty. Anyway, Champion of the Hist, 2-piece weapon damage, 3-piece max stamina, 4-piece max stamina. Great set so far. Gain minor heroism at all times while you're in combat, generating 1 ultimate every 1.5 seconds. Wow. So they got some good sets. I like that set. This set is very, very nice. I like this a lot. 1 ultimate every 1.5 seconds. All right. Very cool. Yeah, more ulti-gen, please. Murkmire crafted sets, Gravestake Collector. So these are the crafted ones. Sorry, I just said that, but these are the ones you can make. Gravestake Collector, max magicka, max stamina, max health. Okay. Enemies you've damaged have a 10% chance to drop a Gravestake for 6 seconds after they've died. Touching the Gravestake restores 6,500 stamina and magicka. Only 1 Gravestake can appear at a time. So these sets are always, like this set kind of reminds me of the one that's in White Gold Tower. What the heck's the name of it? I'm forgetting it. But anyways, it's one of those like an orb drops on the ground and then you have to go pick it up. I'm not a big fan of sets like this because A, it's a 10% drop after it's died. And this seems like a PvE setup, like if you're grinding, you know. I could see this being very good for grinding XP. And so literally something died, so you pick this up, you get a ton of magic and stamina. Only 1 Gravestake can appear at a time. So basically you can just pull this after you kill a group of ads. And you should probably have a totem up, you know, every time you do an ad pull anyways, because it's a 10% chance, but you'll have a decent amount of ads. You should get this pretty easily. PvP, I don't see this being useful. Yeah, that's just my opinion. Naga Shaman, healing done. Max magicka. When you cast the damage shield ability, you gain minor mending and minor vitality for 6 seconds, increasing your healing done and healing received by 8%. This effect can occur once every 6 seconds. Pretty cool set. Might of the Lost Legion, max stamina, max magicka, weapon damage, and spell damage for the 4-piece. After successfully blocking, gain 3 uses of Empower, increasing the damage of your next 3 light attacks by 40%. I don't think it's super... Well... I don't think it's super useful to build a set off of light attacks. Empower used to be really good. You know, I mean... The only thing I can think of is maybe making like a heavy tanky Sork, and then you block, and then you get the reduced damage from blocking if you have the Bound Aegis equipped, and then you can switch. I don't think this is very useful personally, but I'm sure somebody will come up with a very unique build. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. All right. Black Rose Prison, Radial Uppercut. This is the two-hander. Uppercut deals 50% of its damage to 2 enemies near your primary target. Pretty cool. So, Dizzying Swing, Wrecking Blow. Now your Reverse Slice and your uppercut will have splash damage. So, very, very interesting. 50% is a lot. You know, your Dizzying Swing can hit pretty hard. So if you're in a group of people and one person just doesn't block, the people around them will now take a ton of damage. So pretty interesting. I actually kind of like this, especially when you're 1vxing, because, you know, you're fighting outnumbered. You're already casting a channeled ability. Focusing one person when you're getting hit by a bunch of people. Now the other people can potentially take damage. I like this idea, even though I don't like the skill. So Perfect radial uppercut, 2-piece physical penetration. Uppercut deals 50% of its damage. Okay, so if you get the normal one, this, I'm guessing if you complete it on vet, you get this, gallon charge. Reduce the cost of shield charge by 25% and reduce the cost of your next non-shield charge one-hand and shield ability by 100%. So when you gap close in, your next skill that you use will be free. Okay. Perfect gallon charge, you get physical and spell resistance with that. Spectral cloak. So this is dual wield. Blade cloak grants you major protection for 3 seconds, reducing your damage taken by 30%. Wow. Because blade cloak already gives you protection. So this stacks on top of that. Stamina recovery. Blade cloak grants you major protection for 3 seconds. Wow. Okay. That's very interesting. Razor shot. Looks like the bow. Scatter shot applies a bleed after a delay. That deals 40% of your initial attack every 2 seconds for 4 seconds. So 2 ticks. The duration increases if you are farther away from your target to a maximum of 12 seconds. Okay. You get weapon crit with the bow. Wild impulse. Looks like the Destro staff. Reduce the cost of impulse by 10%. Impulse places a lingering elemental damage on your targets, dealing 333. Oh. Alright. So you get 10,000 damage over 9 seconds. Well, let's see how this scales, but yeah, I don't see that being a real PvP thing. But you get Spell Pen with it too for the perfect one. Healing Ward. Steadfast Ward applies major vitality to your target for 3 seconds, increasing the healing taken on your target by 30%. Perfect Mender's Ward. Magic Recovery. Steadfast Ward applies. Yeah. So if you apply Healing Ward and it goes to somebody else, they get major vitality for 3 seconds. That's pretty useful. This is, out of all of them, this is the one I want the most. Because on a lot of my Magicka classes, I run a Resto staff on the back bar, and when one of my buddies is getting focused, I like to apply Healing Wards. So not only is it a ward, but then they get major vitality. So if somebody's really getting focused, you not only protect them, but then you give them something to help them protect themselves. So now their vigor has 30% more healing taken. You know, I think this is going to be very useful. And then the 2-piece Magicka recovery, that's super sexy as well. So I like this. I actually like this quite a bit. Let's see how it fits and how it works, but with builds and everything. But this is a very cool piece. Cosmetic collectible rewards. Nobody cares about that. Well, some people do, but yeah. Rewards for the Worthy refresh. In this update, we've refreshed item sets available from Rewards for the Worthy. They now provide an item from one of 6 all-new item sets available solely through Rewards for the Worthy males. Note the item sets that were previously available here are still available elsewhere in Cyrodiil. These items drop from your style of your alliance and in the style of your alliance and are scaled to your level. Indomitable Fury, Light Armor, Max Magicka, Stamina Recovery. After breaking free, gain minor protection and minor heroism for 7 seconds, reducing your damage taken by 8% and generating 1 ultimate every 1.5 seconds. Okay. This is pretty nasty. Like, this is really nasty. Sorry, I should be talking out loud while I'm doing this. My bad. After breaking free, gain minor protection and minor heroism for 7 seconds. Okay. So you get roughly 6 seconds on a CC. And so essentially when you're fighting somebody or a group of people, they're going to have you have minor heroism with 100% uptime with the set. So if you're, I don't know, a Magplar and you run this on your back bar and you're healing yourself, you get minor protection, so you get the 8%, so then you can run channeled focus, so you get the Magicka recovery with the same damage reduction with minor heroism. I see this immediately being very effective for just about every class. It's light armor. It can be, like I said, it only has to be on one bar. So if you're really on the defensive and you're really getting focused, it allows you to get ulti gen to where you can escape. Maybe you pop a Resto ult, maybe you save your own ass, maybe you know, it allows you to get that little bit of extra to get on the offensive. I like this set quite a bit. I think this is pretty cool. It's going to be kind of strong for a couple specific builds, but yeah, I mean, at least it's a useful set. There are a lot of sets out there that are not useful. This one will be on builds. I can guarantee that this will be on builds. Spell Strategist, Light. Max Magicka, spell damage. Amazing set so far. When you deal damage with a light attack, you place a mark over your target for 5 seconds, granting you 500 spell damage against your marked target. This effect can occur every 4 seconds. Holy crap. So you can have 100% uptime of 500 spell damage by doing a light attack. You place a mark over your target for 5 seconds, granting you 500 spell damage against your marked target. Yeah, so this will essentially be the #1 dueling set in the game for Magicka classes. Max Magicka, that's all. This is super sexy. And then this, you have 100% uptime of 500 spell damage. Like, it's going to be really hard to find a set to top this. So you get the mark for 5 seconds, and then it can occur every 4 seconds. And so typical rotations for people, you know, for Sorks and everything like that, I'm typically rotating on my bars and light attacking on my back bar every 4 to 5 seconds anyways. The only issue with this set is I'm guessing it probably has to be on both bars. Like, you can't front bar this set. Not that it matters a whole lot, but you can't just. I'm guessing this is one of those things that I wonder if it carries over. You know, like, do you lose the buff? But like, you can also back bar this set. You know, and then you just light attack on your Resto bar to buff your Berserk enchant, and then you get this. Like, this is crazy, and you can get basically 100% uptime on it. This is a silly strong set. Like, you're getting the same buff as Burning Spellweave. You know, 500 spell damage. Spellweave I think is 515 or something like that, but it's pretty damn close with 100% uptime. With a light attack rotation that everybody uses for every aspect of the game. Like, okay. Battlefield Acrobat, medium, stamina recovery. So Magicka gets all these spell damage things. Stamina gets recovery, max stamina, reduces the cost of all of your abilities by 6%. Cool. So 1%. So 1% better than Marksman. Soldier of Anguish. This is a good set. It's just, yeah, like Seducer. Never mind. Hold on. Reduce the cost of all of your abilities by 6%. Okay, so this is. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have been so bitter there. Yeah, this is a good set. This is all of your abilities. It should work out the same way as that Light Armor Alteration Mastery. So this is basically the stamina version of Alteration Mastery. All of your abilities, so it should be ultimates, it should be stamina-based skills, blocking, Magicka-based skills. This is actually a really good set. My bad. I'm sorry, Battlefield Acrobat. I apologize. Soldier of Anguish, weapon damage, weapon crit, weapon damage. All right. When you deal damage with a melee attack, you have a 25% chance to traumatize your enemy, negating their next 5,500 points of healing for 4 seconds. This effect can occur once every 4 seconds. Okay. This is pretty powerful. This is a very, in my opinion, this already looks really, really strong. 25% chance with a melee attack. So, off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure every part of puncturing sweeps, or biting jabs, sorry, counts a melee. Every jab is a jab. Your light attacks are also a jab. So you'll basically proc this all the time on a Stamplar. And so 5,500 points of healing is quite a bit. So those pesky Nightblades that won't be able to heal for 4 seconds for their initial ticks, it's like the first 2 ticks roughly. Magplars, that's basically half of their breath of life. And you can just put a lot of pressure on people and really force them to go on the defensive. It's an interesting set. I will test it, but I think this is going to be very, very strong. Like, this is going to be very strong and not fun to fight. Steadfast Hero, physical resistance, spell resistance, max health. When you cleanse a negative effect from yourself or an ally, gain major protection for 5 seconds, reducing your damage taken by 30%. This effect can occur once every 10 seconds. Alright. Cool tanking set. Major protection is nice. 30% damage reduction is nice. 50% uptime. So, interesting. Battalion Defender, max health, max stamina, healing done after successfully blocking. Heal yourself or a nearby group member with the lowest health for 2,000. This effect can occur every 1 second. Okay. I mean, it's not nothing. It's just, yeah, you kind of want to. It's not nothing. I wonder if these stack. Like, can a group of 3, if somebody gets to low health and the other 2 people are blocking attacks, can it apply? Interesting. New PvP collectible. Furnishing groups, crafting motifs. So you want an Indrik. Max spin spec. Alright. Lion Sworn PvP. Siege weapons, with the exception of rams, can currently cause proc sets with ground target AoEs and point blank AoEs to proc when hitting other siege weapons or key pieces. This should be fixed in the next PTS patch. Alright, good. You cannot currently knock other players off fixtures into the water. Okay. Pull abilities such as Fiery Grip or Frozen Gate may not display the crowd control immunity effects correctly after target has been pulled to you. The precognition Morph of Undo currently does not allow you to cast it while you're under the effects of certain crowd control effects. It may display an incorrect duration of the crowd control immunity buff in your buff trackers. Negate magic and its morphs will not properly stun monsters for the full duration of the area of effect. Snare applied by Aspect of Terror and its morphs currently will not display the correct duration in your buff trackers when you use Break Free to remove the fear. Alright. I'm trying to get to the good stuff. I saw some balance changes. There's a lot, so I want to get to those. Combat and abilities. Updated the interaction between roll, dodge, and projectiles. Fixed an issue where a projectile could always be dodged if the target was rolling at the moment the projectile was created. Projectiles can now only be evaded if the roll dodge occurs within 1 second prior to their impact. Okay, yeah, there was a huge lag time between roll dodge and things missing. So it made it very, very effective to roll dodge. This will help sync up the roll dodge animation with the dodge bonus it grants. If you see the enemy actively dodging, they will be able to avoid your attacks. We've coupled this with some additional changes you can read more about below, with the goal being to reinforce the dodge visual. Updated the behavior of all damage shields. You can now deal a critical strike against an enemy with a damage shield. I like this. I've talked to a few people about this. I think this is a good change. There's some other things that they have to do, but in general, this, in my opinion, needed to happen. Being able to negate the crit ability of other classes was kind of silly. So there are a lot of issues with light armor warded abilities, and so in my opinion, just because one nerf is bad doesn't mean you can't buff them and strengthen specific classes in other areas. So I'm not saying, yeah, fuck Sorks, down all Sorks, down tall Magblades. I'm just saying, hey, the aspect of shields is kind of strong. This needed to be adjusted, but other things need to be adjusted as well. So, yeah, I think this is a good change. Like I said, you eliminate entire builds, some builds' ability to do things by making shields not critical. So I like it a lot. Your spell and physical resistance now reduces incoming damage before it is applied to your damage shield. Okay. This change makes damage shields function more consistently with the rest of the game's mechanics. It means that damage shields are more powerful in PvE content since monsters generally don't reduce armor. Heavy armor plays in particular will receive much more effective damage shields now. This is intended to make damage shields a more potent tool for tanks. We will be monitoring this change closely throughout the PTS cycle. We'll make adjustments as necessary. In addition to this change, there are several other damage shield adjustments listed below in the specific abilities section. Okay, so what this means is the effect your shields have depends on your resistances. And so you can reduce incoming damage by having higher resistances, like wearing Bloodspawn, or by wearing Boundless Storm, or something like that. Mag Blades don't really have to worry about a whole lot in PvE or PvP because they get their major buffs from Fear, Path of Twisting Darkness, Cloak, all those. Twisting Path, sorry, not Twisting Darkness. But yeah, so this in itself is a good change. We'll see how it all goes together. Poisons and weapon enchantments can now proc even if the damage done by the light attack, heavy attack, or weapon ability is fully absorbed by a damage shield. Cool. Fix several issues with poisons and weapon enchants. All poisons now correctly proc 20% of the time when any light attack, heavy attack, or weapon ability deals damage. Food and drink will now provide the correct stat bonuses if they are consumed while you have a poison equipped. All weapon enchantments now correctly proc 100% of the time when not on cooldown when any light attack, heavy attack, or weapon ability deals damage. When dual wielding, casting a weapon ability can now proc the weapon enchantment of either weapon. The system will favor proccing weapon enchantment that is not on cooldown. Alright? Removed the baseline of 100 spell and physical penetration all players' characters previously had. Refactored the break free ability and crowd control immunity buff to increase the consistency and reliability of these mechanics. Okay. Updated the skill advisor. Okay, who cares? Fixed an issue where you could add or remove abilities on your ability bar while you were in combat. Fixed an issue where some movement speed bonuses were not additive with each other, resulting in very slight inconsistencies in total movement speed when they were used together. Alright. Buffs and debuffs. Minor and major evasion. This is a big change too. These buffs no longer grant a passive chance to dodge. They now reduce the damage you take from area of effect attacks by 5 to 25%. All abilities that previously granted minor and major evasion have been converted to this new effect, and the Blade Cloak ability now grants major evasion. This is a huge change. This is a very big change. This change affects abilities like Blur, Evasion, Deceptive Predator, Gossamer, Grace of Gloom, Adept Rider, Hissbark, and Spectre's Eye. As noted above, we spent time fixing issues with dodge with the goal of making sure that you only dodge abilities and projectiles when you are actually actively dodging. Passive dodge goes against that, so we removed it from the game. Okay. This is a very large nerf to medium armor builds. Area of effect attacks by 5 to 25%. So that means, puncturing sweeps, curse, any sort of AoE thing, this is very nice for. Steel Tornado, Dawnbreaker, all those sorts of things. That's actually a pretty big damage mitigation. But now, classes when you're fighting those roly-poly stand builds, or they're just dodging everything, that's not going to happen anymore. You're going to hit, but they're going to take less damage. That's very interesting. So it's now going to come down to, is the damage mitigation you get from Shuffle better? Okay, so I'm going to go off on a small tangent here for those of you that enjoy this sort of thing. But before, heavy armor just used to provide so much more because you could be tanky, you could have good resistances, and because you have good resistances, you don't have to heal as much, and because you don't have to heal as much, you don't need as much recovery or reduced cost. A lot of the time when you play in medium armor, you have to heal more because you're taking more incoming damage. I'll have to go do some math on it, but depending on the amount of damage, AoE damage that you mitigate, depending on who you're fighting and everything, you may potentially mitigate enough damage to where medium armor is more tanky than heavy armor. I'm not saying that's the case. Obviously, like surprise attack, concealed weapon, that sort of thing is going to melt medium armor builds. A well-timed crystal frag is going to melt a medium armor build with this setup because it's not an AoE. But there's just so much more like a lot of AoE things that, maybe if you're playing in a ball group, it's better to go medium because that you're just running across AoE, you're running across Destroll, you're running across Teal Tornado, stuff like that. So it's worth testing because up to 25% damage mitigation is a lot. And you start stacking that with some of those dual wield skills and yeah, it gets kind of silly. Major Expedition, fixed an issue where the visual effects from this buff were only visible to the caster. All right. Minor Brutality, increase the bonus to weapon damage to 10% from 5%. Okay. Minor Prophecy, increase the bonus to spell critical strike to 6% from 3%. Minor Savagery, same thing. Minor Sorcery, increase the spell damage, bonus to spell damage to 10% from 5%. The changes to Minor Brutality, Prophecy, Savagery, and Sorcery were aimed at making each class feel valued in group play. It should be encouraged but not required to have a party with multiple classes. This is cool. I actually like this quite a bit. Dragonite. Developer comment. Please be sure to read through all the Dragonite changes fully before providing feedback. Many of the changes in this update complement each other. That's literally the devs going, we know you're going to raise a bitch fit, but please read it all before you provide us with your angry feedback. So, all right. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to read through it, and we'll see how it all kind of coincides. Ardent Flame, Lava Whip. Decrease the range of this ability and its morphs to 5 meters from 8 meters. Flame Lash Morph, remove the stun from Power Lash special attack. We want all classes to be intentional about when they land stuns on the enemy and not have it coupled with an already highly damaging attack. Okay. Power Lash Morph, the Power Lash special attack is no longer free and now costs half the amount of a regular Flame Lash. This puts the ability on par with other types of proc abilities such as Crystal Frags. Okay. World in Ruin. I like these changes. I'll just say that. World in Ruin. This ability no longer increases the damage of poison area of effect abilities by 3 to 6% and now reduces the stamina cost of all poison abilities by 12 to 25%. The flame bonuses of this passive remain unchanged. Wow. So my DK just got a pretty big buff. Not that the stamina cost of poison abilities is super expensive, but 25% is noticeable. Draconic Power. Dragon Leap fixed an issue where this ability and the Take Flight Morph did not improve as they ranked up. Elder Dragon. This passive ability now also increases the range of all instant cast melee abilities 1 meter per rank, in addition to granting health recovery for each Draconic Power ability slotted. This change was made to help standardize the range of all DK melee attacks. It also matches the melee light attack range to the range of their abilities. This additional range helps distinguish melee DKs from other melee classes. Wow. Okay. Spiked Armor. Hardened Armor Morph. Increase the duration of the damage shield from this morph of 6 seconds from 2.5 seconds. Alright. Earthen Heart. Ash Cloud increased the healing done by approximately 50%. Wow. Cinderstorm Morph increased the healing done by approximately 60%. Eruption Morph increased the initial damage done by approximately 15% and the damage over time by approximately 70%. Wow. That's a huge buff for a very long dot. Molten Weapons. Igneous Weapon Morph fixed an issue where this morph did not improve as it ranked up. Obsidian Shield. Decrease the strength of damage shield from this ability and morphs to 9% of your max health from 10%. Fragment Shield. Fix an issue where recasting this morph would not fully refresh the damage shield value. Okay. So all of that together. I think melee range, in my opinion, is too far. And so decreasing the range of melee attacks from this ridiculous 8 meters to where it looks like you shouldn't touch them to 5 meters makes sense. Sometimes you're like, it seems like you're 15 meters away from somebody winding up a dizzying swing and it still lands. Same thing with heavy attack, same thing with reverse slice. It just doesn't look right. It doesn't act right, I don't think that's how it should function, And so, in general, this really isn't a nerf in PvP because most DKs lock people up in talons and they're within 1 meter of the guy anyways. Like, you're basically making out with the person you're beating on. So, this change is really nothing for DKs, in my opinion. The Power Lash morph and the stun, those are pretty significant changes. I didn't like the stun anyways. I thought it was a little too strong, personally. Other people are going to have their opinions. I don't think you need the stun. I'd rather use my CC the way I want it to land my combo, and I don't want to rely on something randomly happening. So this is a pretty big change in the Power Lash morph. We'll have to see how that plays out, but that's a noticeable nerf. Poison abilities, I like that. Spiked armor, all this, no complaints. Nightblade, Assassination. Assassin's Blade, increase the cost of this ability and its morphs by approximately 30%. So that's the Execute. Okay. Execute's at 25% health. This is a huge cost increase, but you're not spamming this skill anyways. I mean, I guess this is more PvE trials related, but yeah. Piercing Mark, decrease the duration of the detection effect to 5 seconds from 30 seconds. The duration of the major fracture and breach remains unchanged. Wow. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, I mostly played. I've played Nightblade more than anything. I play a little. I play everything, but I don't think this needed to happen. Like, you really want to give sniping builds the ability to immediately disappear. You know, like if you get marked in your snipe build, you're just going to run away for 5 seconds. And then once the 5 second duration is done, then you're going to enter stealth and you're going to go back and you're going to attack whoever marked you. Like, I don't know. I think this is too short. I would rather have this be 10 to 12 seconds. You know, if you're going to shorten and make it 10, 12, 15 seconds. I don't think you need 5 seconds from 30. I think 5's too short. It kind of negates what... This is a Nightblade anti-Nightblade skill. You know, it's Nightblade versus Nightblade. I don't necessarily agree with this. So, Grim Focus, fully charged heavy attacks now grant 2 stacks toward the Spectral Bow, proc for this ability and its morphs. Wow, I like that. Spectral Bow proc is no longer free and costs half the amount of a regular Grim Focus. Alright, cool. Increased cost of one of the hardest hitting skills in the game. I agree with that. Fix an issue where you could generate stacks toward the Spectral Bow through unintended means. So this is a pretty big change. Fully charged heavy attacks now grant 2 stacks towards the Spectral Bow. Wow. Yeah. Alright. Shadow, Consuming Darkness, fixed an issue where this ability and the Bolstering Darkness morph did not improve as they ranked up. The duration now improves 0.5 seconds per rank. Okay. Path of Darkness, this ability no longer deals damage and now grants major expedition to you and your allies on the path, and for up to 2 seconds after leaving it. Okay. The change of Path of Darkness is aimed at helping each class bring something to the party. Okay. Siphoning, Drain Power. Power Extraction, increase the damage done by this morph by approximately 25%. So Sap Essence and yeah, the Stamina version. That's a pretty big buff for AoE. So bombers are going, their Sap Essence will hit quite a bit harder. Interesting. Siphoning Strikes, fully charged heavy attacks. I think they're scaling this because of Steel Tornado. Kind of bring it more in line. Siphoning Strikes, fully charged heavy attacks now restore twice the amount of health and resources for this ability and its morphs. Wow. So they're just really going in on the fully charged heavy attacks on Nightblades. Strife, reduce the damage done by this ability by half, but it now also heals for 50% of the damage done and can now target you or an ally. The total healing amount remains unchanged. Swallow Soul, this morph now doubles the amount of damage but decreases the heal to 35. Okay. Okay, I was going to say they just completely fuck Swallow Soul here by removing the damage by 50%. Okay, so the Swallow Soul morph now doubles the damage, so it brings it back in line to what it is now, but decreases the heal to 35% of the damage done and can only target you. So you can only heal yourself with Swallow Soul. The passive Minor Vitality effect has been removed, so you don't gain Minor Vitality either. All right? Funnel Health, this morph will always heal you in addition to an ally. So Funnel Health, 50% less damage than Swallow Soul, but you get to heal somebody in a group. For the Swallow Soul morph, we wanted to retain the current functionality of dealing high damage while also providing healing utility to yourself. The amount of healing provided to the group with Strife was so high that there wasn't enough trade-off with the morph choice. Now you can still get that super powerful group utility as before, but now it comes at a cost of reduced damage. This is the Funnel Health morph. Okay. I get it. I mean, I get it. Like Funnel Health was just really good passive healing, you know. And if you're doing any sort of group content for PvE, there was really no point to not run this. Like you could always heal somebody in your group with it. So, makes sense. Sorcerer, Dark Magic, Crystal Shard, Crystal Fragments. The icon on your action bar now changes when you have an instant cast proc. All right, fix an issue where using the instant cast proc will cause you to stop blocking and prevent you from taking other actions for 0.2 seconds. Cool. It's a good change. Dark Exchange, Dark Deal, Dark Conversion. This ability and its morphs now restore half the resources immediately and the other half over 20 seconds. Total resources restored has been increased by approximately 2%. The health restored remains unchanged. Interesting. This is a pretty big blow to Stamsorks. You know, you can still spam Dark Deal. You can still get your resources back. But you could no longer, you know, streak once, stun a bunch of people, get behind a tree, get off 2 to 3 Dark Deals, and get back to full resources. Now you know, you can spam it 3 times. You're going to get 1.5 Dark Deals, and then you're going to get a total of 2 Dark Deals for the same thing. If that math makes any sense. It does in my head. But, yeah, that's, I mean, it's not bad. It's not like a huge nerf. It's just a big change. Like, you're still going to get the same resources. It's just increasing your recovery. So now every 20 seconds, it's like a buff, you know? So you cast it so you get a buff like siphoning attacks. You know, you get that increased return. I can see in some ways how it's just better long term. You know, it's not the burst stuff. You know, you don't spaz out and lose all your stam. You now have to be a little bit more patient with your stam, knowing that you have stuff coming. And when the timer goes down, then you apply another one. It's interesting. It's a very interesting change, but it looks like the days of just spamming to get resources back are gone. So, yeah. Rune Prison. This ability and its morphs now stun the target after 1.2 seconds. A new visual will display on the target to indicate this effect. The initial application of this effect cannot be dodged, but if the target is dodging after 1.2 seconds, they will avoid the stun. Okay. Increase the duration of the stun to 3 seconds from 2 seconds. Rune Cage Morph. Increase the damage done if the target fails to use Break Free before the stun ends by approximately 22%. We wanted to clearly telegraph when the stun is coming, since it doesn't use a projectile to indicate when it applies. You should now have some time to respond to or prepare defenses. So now if you see this thing on you, the reticle, whatever it's going to be, the new visual effect, you can dodge roll within 1.2 seconds and you're going to dodge a stun. That is a noticeable nerf for Magicka classes, or Magicka Sorks, against a lot of builds. Now that you have it, like, sometimes you can decide if you want to CC break something or not, but like if you know a big burst combo is coming, like you have a curse on you and you see a frag and they put that Rune Prison on you, you know you should probably dodge roll so that you don't take it. You don't take the frag, the curse, and all that. More counterplay. Yeah. Daedric Summoning. Bound Armor. Increase the bonus to block mitigation granted by this ability's morphs to 36 from 20. Conjured Ward. This ability and its morphs now have a 1 second cast time, previously an instant cast. I read this earlier. I don't like this at all. I don't think casting Ward should have a cast time, because if it has a cast time, it means it can be interrupted. And if it can be interrupted, I don't like it. Increase the duration of the damage shield for Conjured Ward and the Hardened Ward morph to 9 seconds from 6 seconds. I like these changes. You know, Empowered Ward, increase the duration of the damage shield 14 seconds from 9 seconds. So it makes Sork a little bit easier to play for people that haven't really played it, so you get the increased duration. I think 8 to 9 seconds is perfect. I think making the shields critable is perfect. I don't like the cast time. I think that should go. I think that's too much. I can already just envision scenarios where you're on a Magic-a-Sork and you're trying to 1vx and you have one person locking you down, snaring you to shit to where you can't do anything but stack wards, and you have one idiot on the other side that's just spamming interrupts. Like literally all they're doing is casting Forceful or Crushing Shock to interrupt you from stacking wards. I don't like the idea personally. So obviously this is the first PTS. All the rest of this is good, but I don't like that. So Daedric Curse, Daedric Prey Morph, decrease the cost of this morph by approximately 20%. Summon Unstable Familiar, decrease the cost of the special attack from this ability and the Volatile Familiar Morph by approximately 15%. Wow. Summon Unstable Clan Fear, decrease the cost of the special attack from this ability from this morph by approximately 33%. Summon Winged Twilight, decrease the cost of the special attack from this morph by approximately 15. So they're once again buffing Sork pet builds. Okay. Storm Calling Mage's Fury, fix an issue where this ability could be cast on corpses. Fix an issue where the execute explosion would sometimes not trigger correctly when the target fell below 20% health. Fix an issue where casting this ability would aggro monsters before actually dealing damage. Fix an issue where you could cast this ability on a target you did not have line of sight on. Fix an issue where using this ability was not counting towards Expert Mage passive. Alright. Overload this ability and morphs no longer grant a third ability bar when toggled on. Damn. Weapon abilities can now be used while in overload mode and are no longer hidden. You can no longer generate any ultimate while this ability is toggled on. You can now toggle this on when you have 25 ultimate or more, previously 75. Light and heavy attacks are now off the global cooldown and can be woven with other abilities. Decrease the damage of light attacks by approximately 50%. Increase the damage of heavy attacks by approximately 60%. Power Overload Morph. This morph now specifies the bonus range and radius for the light and heavy attacks. We want sorcerers to feel like they have access to their full arsenal while in overload mode. This ability is updated to better integrate with other abilities. As soon as you overload light attack, you can cast an ability just like the light attacks of any other weapon set. This is a very big change. This takes away the utility of tank sorks, negate tanks by quite a bit. You know, a negate tank could literally run everything from the group. You know, they could run caltrops to slow people down. They could put on retreating maneuvers on their overload bar. They could put dark deal on there. They could just slot literally every single thing that their group might need on that specialty bar. And then they would still have their heals and all the other stuff on their other bars. That doesn't happen anymore for this. You only get 2 bars now. So that was kind of a cool thing about Sork. But honestly, having the 3rd bar was better than using the ultimate to kill people, in my opinion. This is a very big change. Templar Adric Spear. So yeah, basically, from what I'm reading here, this is just another buff for pet sorks. We'll have to test the Conjured Ward buffs or nerf to see how that goes, but the buff and duration of time is nice. Yeah. Templar Adric Spear, Piercing Javelin, Binding Javelin. This morph now knocks the enemy down instead of knocking them back. Thank you. Thank you so much, ZeniMax. Appreciate it. This change was made to help ensure stamina melee builds are able to continue to hit their targets after activating Binding Javelin. Ranged stamina builds still have access to a knockback with Scatter Shot. Yes. So, the problem with me running a dual wield build for a Templar for a long time was that when you CC'd them, sometimes they would get out of range. And it's not cool. This is expensive. Now you knock them down. I like this change a lot. Plus, hopefully, this gets rid of that pain in the ass animation to where when you're knocked back and you CC break right away, you're not rolling around on the ground unable to do something for 2 to 3 seconds. So this could work twofold for everybody else and for Stamplars to finish people that they, have in their sights. Puncturing strikes. Increase the damage dealt to the closest target only by approximately 8% for this ability in its morphs. Wow. While channeling this ability in its morphs, your character will now always orient the direction of the area of effect towards your reticle. This allows you to turn and damage enemies with these abilities while you are rooted. Wow. Okay, so if you've watched my channel and you've heard me talk about Magic Templars and Magicka DKs and how it's just a pain in the ass fight because each class doesn't have good enough tools to fight the other one. Magicka DKs, like, all their dots are really nice, but you could just purify them as a Magicka Templar. Now, as a Magicka Templar, when you're rooted, you don't have to wait for the root to go away to face the person and do melee damage. So, if a DK wants to lock you in talons and be up close, you can now turn while rooted and do damage as well. This is something that Nightblades have as well with ambush. They can also move with their reticle, even if they're rooted. I think this is a great change. I like this a lot. This is a very nice change for Magic Templars. We want to make sure melee builds are adequately rewarded for the extra amount of risk they are undertaking. Cool. Thank you, Zenimax. I like the 8% bonus, and you get to change while rooted. So very nice buff to a very underappreciated class in general. Yeah. Radial Sweep. Empowering Sweep Morph. This morph now deals physical damage instead of magic damage, and also now grants major protection for 6 seconds plus 1 second for each target hit. So they switched him? As stamina builds already have a bursty option with Dawnbreaker, we wanted Magicka Templars to have access to a similar option with Crescent Sweep. This also expands the options for Stamina Templars to have a more defensive ultimate from Empowering Sweep to help fulfill the Brawler playstyle. Wow. I know I'm not the only one that's been, drumming this drum for the last 6 months or 8 months or 1 year since they changed it before, but I just posted a Magicka Templar video a couple days ago, and I was talking about how Magicka Templar ultimates suck, and so you have to use shitty ultimates. This is exactly why. Like, Stamina Templars, you have Dawnbreaker. You don't need Crescent. Like, Crescent Sweep is nice, but you already have Dawnbreaker. You already have a choice for an AoE ultimate that does a shit ton of damage. Magic Templars don't. This is an amazing change. Now, Magic Templars have an ultimate that does damage. So, thank you. This is the perfect reason for why this should have changed. So, I like that a lot. Big buffs for Magicka Templars this patch. Spear Shards. And it's not that, they're OP. These changes were needed, in my opinion. Like, Magic Templar and Stamina Templar have had issues for a few patches now. And some stuff needed to change for them. So, I like this a lot for them. Spear Shards. Increase the damage done by this ability and the Luminous Shard morph by approximately 67%. Are they bringing Spear Shards back? Blazing Spear morph. Increase the damage done from this ability by approximately 60%. Wow. I might have to sneeze here, guys. 1 second. Wow. Okay. Spear Wall. This ability now grants you minor protection for 1.5 to 3 seconds after activating an Adrix Spear ability. We want it to retain... Isn't minor protection the 8% bonus? So now they passively have it, there's a set for it, and then they have a skill for minor protection. Okay. We want it to retain the defensive flavor of this passive while making it applicable to more of the Adrix Spear skills. The previous version wasn't effective with Puncturing Strikes and Focus Charge because they can't be used while blocking. Damage shield mitigation doesn't include block, so Sun Shield also wasn't useful previously with this skill. Alright, Sun Shield, Blazing Spear Morph. Fix an issue where casting this morph would aggro neutral monsters around you. Dawn's Wrath, Backlash. Increase the cost of this ability and its morphs by approximately 5%. Okay. Radiant Destruction. Decrease the channel time for this ability and its morphs to 1.8 seconds from 2.8 seconds. The damage done has been decreased by approximately 15% and cost by approximately 35%. The total damage per second and cost per second should remain relatively unchanged. This change allows the Templars more opportunities to integrate damage over time effects into the rotation during the execute phase while retaining the powerful level of Radiant Destruction. I like this. Yeah, I like the change to rating quite a bit. You reduce the channel, and so now you won't have... People are going to spam the skill. Like, that's what people love to do. They love to go into PvP and spam Radiant. But now... they only have a 1.8 second window for execute range to spam it instead of 2.8. So when you're 1vxing and you're dealing with that one special person that really just wants to push that button and kill you when other people do damage, now they're going to have to hit that button more. They're going to have to keep spamming that skill. And yes, it says they reduced the cost. They did reduce the cost of the ability by 35%, but if you consider the same duration, it's going to be more expensive to hit this skill 3 times than it is to hit it once. And so that's why, so for the same duration of that guy just spamming Radiant that wants to just do that, it's now going to cost him more magicka to do it. I think this is a very good change. Restoring Light, Restoring Aura, Repentance. Different Templars can now repent the same corpse. It's just Templar Day. It literally is just Templar Day. Like, once again, this is another one I was upset about. Like, if you play with another Stamina Templar and you're Stamina Templar, only one of you can use Repentance currently. That's bullshit. Like, you should allow everybody to use it. This is a great change. Once again, well done, Zenimax. Well done. Rune Focus. Reduce the cost to match the channeled focus morph. Restoring Focus. This morph now costs stamina and grants stamina to you every second and no longer gives minor vitality and minor protection. Minor protection was moved to the Spear Wall passive to retain the total damage. Oh, minor protection was removed. Okay, so it no longer is on that skill. The Spear Wall passive to retain the total damage mitigation for tanky Templar playstyles. Okay, so they just moved where they got it. So now you have Restoring Focus and you have Channeled Focus. So now you have Stamina Return and Magicka Return, if I'm reading this correctly. Once again, another big buff for Templars. So yeah, Templars, I feel like they hit it out of the park. Just reading it now, like these are all changes that I wanted to see. Like, there's not a single one here where I'm like, no, this is bullshit. Like, these are all really good changes. If you're a Templar, like, you should be very, very happy with the changes that happened. All right, on to Warden. Animal Companions. Advanced Species. Increase the bonus damage done for each animal companion ability slotted to 3% at rank 2, previously 2%. Okay. Betting Etch. Increase the resources restored by this ability and its morphs by approximately 60%. Thought Betting Etch was already strong. Fix an issue where the beam visual effects would not display if you recast the ability or its morphs. Dive, Cutting Dive morph. Stamina 1. This morph now also reduces the cost as a morph effect. Screaming Cliff Racer. This morph no longer has a minimum range requirement to obtain part of the 15% damage done bonus. Every meter you are away from the target adds 1% damage done up to a maximum of 15%. Okay. Falcon Swiftness. Fix an issue where part of the visual effects from this ability and its morphs was still visible to enemies, even when you were hidden. Bird of Prey morph. The minor berserk buff is now granted at all times while this morph is slotted. So you don't have to buff it to have it. Is it only on the one bar, though? Because I like to back bar Bird of Prey. And so does it apply to my front bar? Yeah. Deceptive Predator. Minor evasion buff is now granted at all times while this morph is slotted. This no longer grants an increased duration to the active major expedition and major endurance buffs. The goal of this change is to help reduce buff management for wardens. You can now activate this ability reactively in situations where movement speed is needed instead of having to keep the effect up 100% of the time. Okay. Feral Guardian. Increase the damage done by the bear summoned from this ability and s'mores by approximately... Decreased, 30%. Scorch. Reduce the cost of the ability and s'mores by approximately 25%. Swarm. Increase the cost of this ability and s'mores by approximately 30%. Okay. Green Balance Maturation. The minor toughness granted by this passive now applies even if the target was completely overhealed and its duration has been increased to 10 to 20 seconds from 5 to 10. The goal of this is to ensure that all types of wardens now have the ability to bring major toughness to the group. Nature's Grasp. This ability can now target your Feral Guardian and its morphs. Alright, Arctic Wind. Arctic Blast. This morph now fires a projectile that stuns the target in addition to healing you. It requires an enemy target to cast the ability. This ability also no longer deals damage over time based on your maximum health. So it's kind of like Obsidian Stone Fist. That's what it sounds like to me. So you throw a projectile, it hits them, and then it heals you, and it knocks them down. Yeah, sounds just like Stone Fist. Impaling Shards. I feel like they needed this. Magicka Wardens and Stamina Wardens didn't have a CC for a little bit, so without Permafrost. Impaling Shards. Fix an issue where this visual effects of this ability and its morphs did not persist for the full duration of the effect. Alright. Dual Wield Blade Cloak. This ability and its morphs now grants major evasion. So you get the reduced AoE damage. Okay, so now you can't stack Blade Cloak with medium. But you can stack... You could now stack this with heavy. Okay. Well, you could before, or whatever. Arrow Spray, Acid Spray Morph. Fix an issue where the damage over time from this morph was breaking the invisibility of Shadow Cloak. Alright. Scatter Shot. Increase the range of this ability and its morphs to 28 meters from 10 meters. The range was increased to be more in line with other bow abilities and now fits better into rotations at range. Destruction Staff. Impulse. Increase the damage done by this ability and its morphs by approximately 25%. So that's a big buff on top of the new Impulse buff. Okay. Light Armor Annulment. This ability and its morphs now have a 1-second cast time. Previously instant cast. Increase the duration of the damage shield to 9 seconds from 6 seconds. Okay. Nobody's safe from cast times. Damage shields are very powerful because they can be used to instantly reduce incoming damage and allow the user to stack offensive stats while also being very difficult to kill. Adding a cast time and increasing the duration makes this an ability to use proactively before damage happens or at the opportune times during combat. Okay. Evocation. This ability now increases your magic recovery by 2 to 4% per piece of light armor worn, in addition to reducing the cost of the magicka abilities by 1 to 2%. Buff for light armor. Recovery. Rename this ability to Grace. This ability's old effects have been merged into the Evocation passive and now reduces the effectiveness of snares applied to you by 1, 2 to 4% per piece of light armor worn and reduces the cost of sprint by 1, 2 to 3. Wow, ZeniMax. Well done. So, I've been talking to a few friends on Xbox about this, but one of my biggest problems with like playing a Magicasaurk or a light armor class is that you just get snared to shit. And it's not about having a Purify. Like Purge removes snares, but it's you don't want to run Purge for a snare removal, you know? It would be nice to have something that just like a class skill like Dragon Wings to where you could have that snare immunity that other classes have. And so heavy armor wardens and DKs and all this stuff, they sacrifice some healing, but then they get the snare immunity, which is the ability to move around in PvP is really what's king. And that's the biggest problem when you're fighting people on a Sork or on a Magicka Nightblade, is you just get snared and locked down and spammed with Radiant and hit with Snipe. And it's just a big pain in the ass sometimes. This adjusts that quite a bit. So you can have a 20% snare reduction if you wear 5 light. So it's not a ton, but it's still nice. And they're reducing the cost they reduce the duration of snares. So this is a nice little change, in my opinion. On top of, you get a little bit more magic recovery. All these changes are aimed at making light armor more attractive to Magic users in both PvE and PvP scenarios. Cool. Medium armor. Agility. Increase the weapon damage bonus to 7 to 15% from 6 to 12. Okay. World Werewolf. Different werewolves can now devour the same corpse. Cool. Same line of Repentance. Savage Strength. Fix an issue where this passive ability was not actually increasing your spell and physical resistance. Werewolf Transformation. Fix an issue where the transformation from this ability and its morphs was being removed from you if you zoned into a new area. Pack Leader. Fix an issue where using a heavy attack against an enemy would not cause your direwolves to target that enemy. Alright. Fighters Guild. Silver Bolts. Silver Leash Morph. Fix an issue where you could not cast this morph while you were silenced. Sigic Order. Imbue Weapons. Decrease the cost of this ability and the Crushing Weapon morph by 5%. Elemental Weapon. Increase the cost of this morph by 10%. Okay. Inner Fire. Inner Beast. Fix an issue where you could not cast this morph while you were silenced. Alliance War. This is really long. I'm going to need to take a drink here. Assault Reach. This ability now only affects abilities that have a 28 meter range or more, previously 15 meters. Okay. Warhorn. This ability and its morphs no longer grant minor toughness. This change is made to give wardens the ability to provide a unique buff minor toughness to groups. Alright. Champion System. The Apprentice. Spell Precision. Decrease the spell critical strike chance granted to 9% from 12%. The Ritual. Precise Strikes. Decrease the spell weapon critical chance strike to 9% from 12%. These changes were made to keep damage and critical strike rates in line after the increased changes to Minor Prophecy and Savagery. The Shadow. Befoul. Fix an issue where placing points into this champion ability was not updating the tooltip of some major and minor defile abilities. Alright. Glyphs. Absorb Stamina Enchant. This glyph now deals physical damage instead of magica damage. Okay, that might make it better. Crusher. This glyph now always prioritizes the highest value debuff on the target. Lower value Crusher enchantment proc cannot overwrite a higher value one. Cool. Weakening. This glyph now always prioritizes the highest value. Okay. Item sets. Fix an issue where healing ability tooltips were not being updated when you add an item set bonus that increased healing done. Affliction. Fix an issue where the damage from this item set was being mitigated by the target's spell resistance instead of their physical resistance. Shorvold's Guidance. Fix an issue where this item set was not increasing the duration of the major protection buff from the Remembrance morph. Maw of the Infernal. Fix an issue where the damage area of the Daedros Fiery Breath ability was smaller than the visual effect area. The damage area radius was increased by approximately 100% and the cone was increased by 20%. Alright. Pirate Skeleton. Fix an issue where the appearance change from this item set was not lasting the full duration if you were wearing Jorvold's Guidance item set. Powerful Assault. Fix an issue where the proc from this item set would only apply to your group members and not just an ally. Alright. Thurvokun. Fix an issue where the minor defile debuff applied was only reducing healing received and not also health recovery. Alright. Vestment of Olorime. Fix an issue where some player abilities and dungeon boss energies were incorrectly proccing this item set. Vycosa. Fix an issue where this item set would not proc Major Maim if the target was taunted by the Tormentor item set proc. Alliance War in PvP. Doubled damage of Slaughterfish. Add a new tunnel south of Wayne and Priory, which leads into Aldmeri territory and west of King's House Creek, which leads into new tunnels. Okay. Add a new fishing locations near Bavel and Niven Bay. Bravel. Wow. And fishing locations on the north side of Bravel have been moved. Moved the book in Chalman Keep to Zimmeron's War Table. Town guards at Bruma will no longer attack Alliance guards. That's too bad. Itemization. The 3 tutorial quests in Cyrodiil will no longer grant Pelinal's mid-year boon boxes during mid-year mayhem. Those boxes are intended to be daily rewards for quests. However, all 3 tutorial quests now grant 3,000 AP each upon completion for a total of 9,000 AP. Keeps. Keep walls now have 410,000 HP when upgraded instead of 305,000. Good change. Reworked the postern house to be a platform more conducive to siege deployment. This platform also shields the keep wall it's built upon from taking damage until it's destroyed. All right. Mile gates and bridges. Bridges are now slightly more elongated compared to their non-destructible cousins. Slightly adjusted the terrain around all mile gates and bridges to aid in deployment of siege weaponry. The following structures have been moved so the impact of siege weaponry is more accurate. Ash Mile Gate has moved south. All right. Alessia Bridge has moved northwest. Okay. Nibbin Bridge, the second bridge in the Nibbin River, has been moved north. Wayne and Mile Gate has moved to the west. We made minor adjustments to the southern side of the Cholm and Mile Gate to ensure siege weaponry is more accurate. Outposts. Added 3 new outposts to Cyrodiil. Winter's Reach, Harlan's Outpost, and Carmel Outpost. These outposts have been added to the Keep Transit Network via Dragonclaw, Drakelow, and Brindle, respectively. Okay. That's interesting that they want more outposts. Siege. Siege damage will no longer critically hit against players. This applies to initial damage and secondary damage effects. Okay. Added Cyrodiil towns, Bruma, Cropsford, and Velastris to the Keep Transit Network from Dragonclaw, Drakelow, and Brindle, respectively. Cool. So now you can travel there. Place new Alliance guards in respawn locations of capturable towns, which can be accessed after jumping down from the safe platform via doors on their associated structures. Cropsford Outlier Flag is now better defended and reinforced with some structures. Updated the respawn points for Velastris and Bruma. Cool. Made several adjustments to Battleground matchmaking in an effort to improve overall match quality and reduce egregious queue times. Everyone will now qualify for the daily Battleground rewards if there are 2 identical scores between 3 teams for the final score of a Battleground. When there's a tie between the top 2 teams, they are now both awarded first place and the bottom team is awarded second place. When there's a tie between the bottom 2 teams, they are now both awarded second place and the top team is awarded first place. When there's a 3-way tie, all teams are awarded second place. In any tie scenario, except for all teams having a score of 0, all eligible players on all 3 teams will receive the daily Battleground reward. Okay. Combat and gameplay. And I think that might be it. So overall, pretty good changes. Obviously, this is just reading them. You know, what I'm actually reading and what I will be testing, they're 2 different things, and so they're subject to change. You know, maybe I think a set's good, and you test it and you find out it's garbage. Maybe you think a skill change is good, but then later you find out it's garbage. The only real complaint I have is Harness and Hardened Ward I don't think should have a cast time. I like the increased timer, but I think just making it so the shields can be crit is useful enough. You know, it gives you that little bit extra burst. You know, everybody else can potentially be bursted. You still have a damage shield that doesn't affect your health bar. There's a lot of added bonuses to light armor to where you don't need to build in an ability, you know, have an ability just say, okay, well now you can't do crit damage either. You know, you're negating a class's ability to fight classes with wards and all of that. And so that significantly impacts a lot of my builds because I'm wearing a lot of Divine Twiceborn Star builds with low resistances. I may have to buff my resistances in order to get my shields where I want them to deal with these incoming classes. So I know people are going to say, oh, well, you know, you said you played Nightblade. You don't know what you're talking about when it comes to wards. If you go back and you watch my build videos, guys, like I wear a Divine Light Armor Magicka DK. I wear a Divine Light Armor Magicka Sork, and I wear a Light Armor Divine Magicka Nightblade in open world PvP. So I definitely play Light Armor quite a bit. I definitely know what it is. I know its strengths, and Harness Magicka is a serious strength when you have a big Magicka pool, and it makes you really tanky even in Divines, and it needed to be adjusted because I don't think you should be able to get away with Divines in PvP for most builds. So yeah, I'm not saying that you can't. You still will be able to. It's just you got to be careful with your wards. So overall, good changes, but I'm done talking. Want to know what you guys think? Please comment in the section below. Let me know what you think of the changes so far. Thank you for watching, guys. Have a nice day.